How's it going, guys? Andrew here with Justified EDC, and today I have a review for you on the Crossroad Custom Wesker. There you go, take a good look at that knife there, and I'm going to sit this here for you to look at. Real quick, before we get into everything, I'll go over specs, I'll go over my use, my opinions on the design, everything like that, but real quick, we're going to go ahead, and before I forget, we're going to thank the sponsor of the channel, Auxiliary Manufacturing. Mike over at Auxiliary Manufacturing is doing awesome stuff, doing some cool handmade custom fixed blades, like this Sumi right here. I have a couple videos back on two other models of his. If you're interested in that, go check that video out. Go check his pages out. I will leave links to all of his stuff in the description. And thank you again to Auxiliary Manufacturing for sponsoring the channel. So now that that's out of the way, we will go ahead and get into this. So full disclaimer here, this was sent to me for review by Crossroad Custom, Caleb over there. And if you follow me on Instagram or you follow them at all, you'll be familiar with him. He is actually the son of BW Knives, Brad, who makes stuff like this right here. You've probably seen his stuff on the channel. But Caleb is a 17-year-old knife maker, and I think it's super cool that someone that young is getting into making knives, and he does an excellent job. You can definitely see some of the DNA of his dad's knives, designs and stuff like that. But he is doing I think Brad helps him with some of the stuff, but the majority of the work going into these, he's doing himself. So that is super cool. Very happy to support a young maker like that. But he did send this along for me to check out. I will be reviewing this and then sending it back to him so he can get his money's worth out of these, sending these to you guys. I think he's going to refinish the blade here because I beat it up a little bit. But before I get into that, my thought behind the design, let's get you some specs. So lining this up here, you're looking at if you count all the way back the ricasso to where the handle wrap starts, you're looking at right at a 3-inch blade. The actual cutting length is more like 2 1/4 inches. So if you're looking for if you're in a place where those blade lengths are like, you need like a 2 1/2-inch blade, you might be pushing it, because depending on how much the comp likes you or doesn't like you, they might count that as blade length, they may not, but overall is about 3 inches. You got 2 1/4. Overall length is about 7 inches, and you got about a 4-inch blade, about 4-inch grip area. Now the grip area, I would consider extends down here onto the ricasso, because your thumb can kind of, or the palm of your hand can kind of go down to there in the reverse grip, as well as you can kind of choke up on it a little bit there. But that's that. You have 1/8-inch thick blade stock made out of Nitro V steel, same heat treat as BW Knives, Offensive Industries, Auxiliary Manufacturing, Kistner Knives. They're all using that same really sweet Nitro V heat treat that I have been liking quite a bit, so that's going to speak for itself. And then the sheath here, Kydex Offensive Industries deep carry pocket sheath. It is ambidextrous, can go in either direction, and it has a discrete carry concepts clip that I like to carry in my pocket. So there are the specs. Let me pull some stuff out here as size comparison. Let's see what I got on my desk right here right now. This is the Gypsy EDC Tego. This is the larger version with the 4-inch blade. This is what I got in my pocket today. This is a new one I don't think I've shown on the channel yet. This is the Knives by Nuge Wicket in Nitro V as well. Much smaller knife and a much bigger knife, so you can kind of see it's a medium-sized knife. This is kind of my ideal EDC range for kind of a general purpose self-defense and utility kind of knife, that kind of 4-inch handle with the shorter blade. But there you can see those. I will pull out here. This is the BW Knives Erebus Short, which you can see a lot of similar DNA in, and also similar in terms of the overall profile. Let me put this back in my pocket, because that is my EDC today. Here is the Sosby Blade Chicago Cub, which is another very similar blade in terms of the overall size and profile. And then let's see, I'll show this off too, because I have it here with me. This is a knife by my buddy Heavyset Slim over on Instagram. Justin, great guy. This is a prototype of a knife, of a model that he's working on right now. It doesn't have a name yet, but really cool blade. Really been enjoying this as well. And there you can kind of see that. And then I'm going to grab some folders for you guys to look at that are some kind of more standard things that everyone will be familiar with. Here is a Spyderco Para 3. Very similar overall profile. Here is a Hogue Deca. And you can see that. And then let's get some a little more traditional stuff in here, because I've been doing a little bit more traditional knife stuff recently. Here is a Case Trapper. And if I can open up another drawer here, I got my tool chest all opened up here, knives all over the place. Here is a Buck 110, the folding hunter. So there's some size comparisons for you. Hopefully that should hit the mark for everyone. You got some traditionals, you got some small maker fixed blades, you got some production folders. Hopefully that should give everyone a good idea of the size of this knife. So I apologize, I'm going to put some of this stuff away here just to give me some more room on my desk, and then I will get back to the review. But, all right, sheath knife. Let's get into it. So overall, the profile on this is very similar to some of the BW knife stuff, which the very neutral handle, which I'm a big fan of. Kind of just tapers gradually back here to a nice capped pommel there, which is really great for reverse grip stuff to kind of cap your thumb over there. Very comfortable. The kind of wide wrap like that gives your fingers a nice place to kind of melt into. Very grippy, feels really good in the hand. The grind on this is like I would call like a mid-height flat grind. Nice sharp secondary edge bevel. And it's kind of hard to see some of the wear on here on camera. It shows up a lot better in person, but this has been used quite a bit. I've done breaking down cardboard, cutting straps and zip ties and stuff like that. A lot of stuff that I do at work. Done a little bit of food prep with this actually. I cut a little bit of paper for some projects, stuff like that. Just general EDC stuff. I've done some tip tests with this where I stabbed this into some wood, pried both ways. Tip is held up perfectly. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I actually dropped this knife tip first onto a tile floor. And the tip held up beautifully. There's absolutely no deformation on that tip. Nitro V with this heat treat is a wonderful thing. Same thing with the edge, no chips on that edge at all. Maybe a little bit of micro chipping, like right up here. Maybe I dragged it across some more coarse material, but Nitro V, if you're not familiar with it, very similar to like 14C28N. It is a very tough stainless steel, so you get really good corrosion resistance. It's a very tough steel, and it holds an edge for a decent amount of time. Now, some of the production Nitro V that I've had hasn't done as well, but whatever heat treat they're doing, those makers that I mentioned earlier, this Nitro V holds an edge for way longer than it should. Some of the BW knife stuff and the offensive industry stuff I have really put through its paces, and just kind of stropping it every once in a while keeps this nice and sharp. I haven't touched this up on my sharp maker or anything yet, and it's not touched stones. It has only been stropped, and it might not cut paper all the times, but as soon as you strop it up, it does, and it's enough to be a working edge. So I've been very happy with the performance of the steel. I really do like this blade shape. I like that completely straight Warncliffe edge, and that kind of gradual drop right here is kind of an interesting shape. It makes it stand out. I do like this this kind of curvature right here, so when you're using it for more utility stuff and kind of, I don't even know, this is not even really a saber grip. Saber grip's usually kind of your thumb back here on the spine, but whatever this grip you would consider, your thumb sits right in there very naturally to do that kind of stuff. So that's great, as well as if you have bigger hands. For me, my hand can pretty much completely fit on that grip, but if you have bigger hands and your hand kind of goes over both that extra flat spot here on the pommel or the ricasso that's unsharpened, as well as that gives you plenty of clearance. So let's say my hands were bigger and they came down here a little bit. Even if you overshoot that grip a little bit, you still have plenty to go onto before the meat of your hand would hit that edge. So that's really well thought out. Neutral grip, you can use it in every grip that you pick the knife up in. Works very well for reverse edge stuff, which is my preferred method for kind of a self-defense knife use. But very, very good for utility as well. It's not the thinnest edge in the world, but it still slices well, but it is thick enough that it will be tough if you need to thrash on it a little bit. Sheath, again, there's not a whole lot for me to say about it. It's an Offensive Industries deep carry sheath. It's great. I love them. It's really the only way I carry fixed blades anymore. Anyone that's been following me for any amount of time knows that. One issue I did run into with this, on the wrap here, most makers, when they do these kinds of Japanese style cord wraps, do a dry wrap and then they epoxy over it. Now, I'm pretty sure this was epoxy because most of the wrap has stayed very solid. It's not moving around at all. Down near the bottom here, This part of the wrap has started to loosen up a little bit on me. So on this flat part, you can see, I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but especially over here, this part of the wrap has started to soften and move around, which is not a big deal for using it. I wonder how long it would take for, if this is, I don't know if they either missed epoxy on this or if the epoxy that they use is just starting to wear out. I have used this knife quite a bit and carried it quite a bit, and a lot of in and out of the sheath as well. So I don't know what's causing that, but in terms of functional using it, I don't really have a problem with that, other than the long term, will this eventually start to unravel. But the really only issue it causes is that really loosens up the retention on this sheath, because the sheath is molded to kind of grab these pieces of the wrap right here that you can kind of see on the mold. That's what it was grabbing. So the retention has gotten a little bit light, where I can kind of shake it out of the sheath, which isn't a huge deal because most of the knife is down in the sheath and it's in my pocket in a vertical position. So gravity is not going to take a hold of this to fling it out of my pocket, but it is something that probably should be addressed. Again, not a huge deal. And again, I know Caleb is 17. These are the kind of things he'll learn as he goes, maybe to just epoxy this a little bit better. And again, I don't know what the process was there. It could just be mine. I don't know if they're all like this. Take my word with a grain of salt. But that's just the only thing that I really noticed. The only issue that I've had with this knife is just a little bit of that wrap loosening up down here. The rest of it, completely solid. It's still completely solid. It's not moving around at all, and I still get a very solid grip even with that little bit of wrap moving. So not a big deal at all. Overall, I'm really happy with this knife. I think this is a fantastic offering from a young maker. I would really appreciate if you guys went over to Crossroad Customs page and supported him and his dad, BW Knives, Brad. Really good people. They've been really good at communicating, and they've been super generous to send me stuff along to review. Brad has sent me a couple knives to keep at this point, which has been is really just blown my mind. The generosity of both of them is very cool. There's really nice people, and they have some killer designs. The Wesker is a really good one. He has some other designs out as well. He has his own website. Again, I will leave links to his Instagram and his website down in the description, but there's really not a whole lot more I can say about this other than I really enjoyed my time with it. I really enjoyed using it. I think it's a killer knife, and as long as they lock down that epoxy there on the handle, I think this is a killer design. Maybe the only other thing I would say is, since this is, there's no real swedge or anything on here, which does keep the tip nice and thick, but if you wanted to do a model down the road where maybe he put a swedge there on that tip, that might aid in a little bit of penetration. Again, it's all what you want to use the knife for. If you want to have it for more of a utility thing, keep that tip a little thicker like that. If you wanted to have this be more of a dedicated self-defense knife, you could easily add a swedge to that, thin that tip out a little bit, have it penetrate a little bit more. But yeah, the edge is curved up right here to keep you on your center line. So pretty much anything you need to do with this in terms of penetration and stabbing is going to be just fine. But I'm rambling now. I really do like this knife, guys. Please go check him out. Show him some love and some support. Thank you again to Caleb for sending this over to me. I'll be hitting you up soon here, bud, so I can get this knife back to you so you can sell it to some other lucky viewer here. But thank you again to him for sending that. Thank you again to Auxiliary Manufacturing for sponsoring the channel. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.